Hello, I'm Citrus, and you're looking at Kotobukiya's EVA-00 Prime prototype TV version. The reason why this is just going to be a quick video today is because I have two more of these. The Unit 1 over here, and also Unit 2. And spoiler alert, these kits aren't that great. So I figured if I don't talk about it now, while I still feel like it, there's a good chance I might never come back to these. And there's also not too many people who have talked about these, it seems, so I figured might as well share my opinion while it's still fresh in my mind. The reason why I was excited to pick these up in the first place is because Evangelion, fun fact, was actually my first mecha anime. And, well, okay, that's not technically true because my first mecha anime was this kind of Evangelion knockoff called Dual Parallel World Trouble. Kind of interesting. Maybe we'll check that out. But anyway, these specific kits that Kotobukiya made, they made a ton of Evangelion kits for like the rebuild and everything. These are the best renditions, in my opinion, of the TV anime design. Like compared to the Bandai HG kits from the 90s, like the proportions are infinitely better. So I was really excited to pick it up. Now, unfortunately, this time I'm not going to do the build, and it'll become pretty apparent once we look at the instructions why that is. So you have this kind of style that's kind of supposed to emulate the information packet that Shinji gets in episode 1. Kind of cute. And right away you can see the figures, the finished figure's posability is quite good. And aside from like the waist, the proportions of the finished kit are pretty true to the anime. But once we look at like the parts here, well, it's not so clear now, but once you go through a couple of steps, you can see kind of just how the build is, which is not that deep, unfortunately. This is especially underwhelming for a very significant reason that I will talk about at the end, but I kind of was hoping there would be a little bit more to the build, especially because, well, first of all, the box is pretty big. If we compare it to my favorite Master Grade of all time, which is the Master Grade Nemo, you can see they're about the same size box. And this packs a really nice build inside of a really low price for a very well-featured model kit. And this really can't compare. And I guess that's just like a Kotobukiya-ism. Anyway, so if we look at the finished Unit 0, you can see here next to a real grade RX-78 and a Master Grade RX-78 to get a feeling for the size. What scale is this? I don't know. I read in a few places that claim this is supposed to be like 1/400 scale or something, but the box specifically says non-scale, so yeah. There is a entry plug which you can lift out of the back, and it's a little bit tricky to make it move because the path that it moves on is kind of in an arc. I got it started off screen because it's a little bit tricky to get moving, but you can kind of see as I pull it out, it kind of goes up and back, and there is the entry plug. It's really small and it's really difficult to pull out once it's kind of seated in there, but you could conceivably take it out if you want. So just put that back in, and the order you put it back in is a little bit tricky because the entry plug is connected to like a little platform that's connected to this bit, but you see that because of this part that sticks out on the front half, you kind of have to push everything down together all at once, and all of the little joints in here are very tiny, so the first couple times you do this might feel a bit scary while everything moves in there. Anyway, botched top coat slightly aside, the finished model kit looks really good. I really like the proportions of the chest. compared to the Bandai one, which was just like comically wide for some reason. This is much, much better. Kind of a knock though is that this whole neck piece is just this brown color, so you do have to paint all of the black. This doesn't come with any like stickers of any kind, so if there are colors missing, you have to paint them. You do get like a few water slide decals for like the arms and the shoulder, but that's basically it. I put these on just because the kit came with them and I thought they looked pretty cool. But I don't really know if that was necessarily a good idea in hindsight, because I don't even remember if like any version of like the TV anime or the old theatrical films had any kind of markings like these. Another thing is the ball joints inside of the whole neck and chest area are just plastic on plastic. I had a little bit of blue tack that was stuck to the inside of the head from when I had it on the skewer to top coat it, and once I put it back on, it actually gave the ball joint a little bit of grip, so I did it to the bottom, and now the whole assembly up here isn't as wobbly as it would have been before, so that's kind of nice. The eye here is the only pre-painted part in the entire kit. Fortunately, the painting is pretty nice. Sometimes you get pre-painted parts on Kotobukiya kits that are just like a little bit messy and then you'll have to go fix it yourself. This is the green jewel on top, is the only clear part in the entire kit. But I put a little bit of silver underneath it just so it'll catch the light better, and I think that looks really nice. The shoulder pylons aren't actually attached to the shoulder, they're like in a little bar in there, so they can kind of move on their own. And they don't really get in the way of the articulation too much. You can see you can move the arms up and around and rotate them without much fuss. The rest of the articulation is like really, really basic stuff. Well, I mean, like, it works well enough, I guess. You only get the one joint, just a little bit better than a 90. But like, if you've messed with anything like Figma or like Revoltech, it's like that tier of articulation in the whole kit, pretty much. The only like polycap ball joint is actually right here in the thigh swivel, so you can see that it bends in a little bit. And I really didn't think this would do much at first, but surprisingly for some poses, like, you know, you can get the leg out a little bit further, and it'll let you do like these sort of like crossing in kinds of poses like that. Yeah, overall really, really good articulation. Full bend at the leg there, and it doesn't look too weird. You can bend the little kneecap thing up if you like. And the ankle is just another set of like, what do you call them, universal joints, like the wrist. So you get really good grounding actually. Like, that's a pretty steep angle. Despite how small the feet are, the kit actually manages to stand on its own just fine in a lot of really wide poses. So that's also really nice. Inside of the waist, there's two segments. You can't bend it back very far. Like, straight up is basically as far back as it goes. But bend forward well enough. And also gives you just a little bit side to side, not too much. But enough to emote, which is nice. So, left this for the last part, which is the hands. I'm really not a fan of how this was executed. Well, partially because my own skill is quite limited, but these are very like soft, squishy plastic, and they're quite difficult to paint. For one, the lines on some of the hand parts are quite gummy, so it's not very clear exactly where, like, how far the color should go. And the other thing is that, like, as soon as you start moving them a little bit, it just starts flaking off. So these two are not too bad, but I have a couple of others. And honestly, they kind of look like garbage, because I kind of just lost my patience, like, trying to paint them and clean them up and then retouching up and all of that stuff. And it's just awful. In hindsight, maybe I shouldn't have painted them at all. Yeah, I really don't know why they didn't make these in hard plastic, because none of them like are for holding anything. Yeah, you only get one holding hand for the right hand, which means you can't carry any of the accessories on the left hand at all. And like, I don't know, they could have made these like just regular solid plastic hands, and they would not only look better because, you know, harder plastic will let you have sharper molds for like the lines and stuff, but also they'd be so much easier to paint than this stuff. So that's a little bit disappointing. Now, one of the accessories you can have the Evangelion hold with its one hand is the knife, which is not terribly aggressively proportioned. There are definitely some versions of this that look more threatening, like with a longer blade and so on, but I guess it's not inaccurate to the anime. You also get this shoulder pylon that you can change out. And what you do is quite simple. Just take this, pull it off like that. And then you can just stick this in. And it looks like it's open, deploying the knife, which is pretty cool. I mean, it would have been nice, obviously, if this actually functioned as a gimmick, but given the like very slim proportions that the kit wanted to stick to for accuracy, this obviously would have been the better way to do it. In addition to that, you get the machine gun that they have. It's just two clam shells together, no color. You have to put in all of the other colors you want yourself if you like. And according to the instructions, it's actually supposed to be a completely different shade of like gray, and I just did not feel like painting the whole thing, so no. And you also have this gigantic lance of Longinus. Probably butchered the pronunciation, but it is massive. It looks pretty good. The tapering is a little funny because like it's supposed to be this whole section here in the middle is roughly all the same diameter so that the hand can grip it firmly, and then it kind of just tapers off really quickly at the end. So it's not really noticeable, just a small detail. The issue that I have, at least with mine, is that the tips, the fork parts aren't straight. And I think that might have to do with the fact that like I've had this kit sitting for quite a while. So maybe like with some heat I can just bend it back into shape. But it's very important that you don't glue this together, even though it might be tempting because like the connection in the middle feels a little bit dicey. And it's because it's so long that if you don't like let it be able to separate like this into its two halves, you might have a hard time like storing this when you're not displaying it safely. All right, and the last accessory is the only hard plastic hand in the entire kit, which is the hand used for gripping the N2 bomb from that one scene where like, you know, it's trying to shove it through the AT field of that one angel to blow it up. So they made one, and you know, clearly at some point, like they could have just made this for the rest of them. And see, look, this is a two-piece hand right here, and they just separated it right at the thumb, and it looks perfectly fine. And one last accessory is this, the umbilical cord cable power charger thing. So it's a soft rubber hose, and to be more like in scale, it's actually quite thin. I think this is like 2 millimeters instead of 3. It kind of doesn't go anywhere, but if you use something like an action base, which has a bunch of other holes in it, you can basically like just make something to sort of stick this loose end into one of the extra holes on the base so it doesn't just like flop around everywhere, and also look pretty good. It's just also two pieces, so I painted in the red, the black there, and also the gold on the inside. When you put it on, there's where it goes, and you can put it in. And that's basically how it works. You can also use this hole as a place to attach a display stand. This is a 3mm hole, and if you don't like that position, which is the one I prefer since it's not like you're not putting any extra holes on the body, there is another plate you can change, put on the butt that has a 3mm hole as well. So altogether, this is a kit that looks really, really good, right? The build isn't that impressive or engaging, but the result, I think, can't be argued with. It just is simply the best looking TV version rendition of this particular mecha design. The problem comes down to the price, really. So right down here, next to the catalog code, you can see that the price is 5,800 yen. Okay? And yes, the accessories are like all accurate and nice, but still a lot. The kit is not exactly huge or anything. And if we look at Unit 1, same price, also 5,800 yen. And Unit 2, pretty thick, 7,800. To be fair, Unit 2 does come with the shipping cloak, which is pretty cool, but it's just like a large piece of plastic. So yeah, you can see like the rest of the accessories are basically the same amount, right? So instead of like the lance, you get the harpoon thing and also a little bazooka. And if we go back to Unit 1, you get literally nothing extra. As a matter of fact, with Unit 1, you pay the regular price, 5,800 yen, but you get literally the least amount of stuff. But to a certain point, Kotobukiya can charge this price because there really is no comparable product that you can buy that is like better or cheaper than this. And okay, fine. Let's say you're all right with the price, right? 5,800 yen, and by the time it gets over to wherever you are overseas, it's probably going to be at least 65, 70, maybe $80 even if the particular store you're buying from feels greedy. The other problem is I can't tell you where to get one because Kotobukiya is not nearly as generous as Bandai when it comes to reprints. I bought these three, I believe, in like 2017, 2018-ish. And in the 5 or so years since then, Kotobukiya has reprinted these, I think, maybe once. So they're really hard to find. They're kind of expensive. They're not that fun to build, but if you want the TV anime version of these EVAs, this is it. So that was a quick look at the best, worst Evangelion model kit ever made. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.